Welcome to the 504th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome, and thank you for listening. Well, the Long Haul 100 trail race is over, and it wasn't so long for me, unfortunately. So before I ever started the race, I wrote down what would be my reason for not completing the 100-mile race. And one of the reasons was getting struck by lightning. Another one was a broken bone, a cardiac condition. Looks bad for a cardiologist to have a heart attack on the course and keep going. And the other one was an injury or recurrence of my previous injury that left me unable to run. I didn't have a heart attack, I didn't have a stroke, I didn't get struck by lightning, and I didn't have a broken bone. Those are things I'm very grateful for. The reality of it is, I really didn't re-injure myself, but I came awful close. Or at least I thought I did. So let's go back and talk about what happened leading up to the race. Last year, 1 year ago to, I guess last weekend or so, is when I ran the 100-mile race, Long Haul 100. And after that race, I developed or had the onset of a severe tendinitis that went from my foot up my shin. And the discomfort would be very burning discomfort. It also caused some swelling and a little nerve pain on the outside of my leg that was sharp. Sometimes my arch would cramp, sometimes I'd have the burning up my shin. It never really stayed in one place. It would kind of move around. And in the last 50K that we did, I started getting the burning, and my ankle would become stiff, and it would hurt to wiggle my ankle left and right. So not up and down, but left and right. It's kind of flexing your inverting your ankle is what the problem would be. And again, I'd have this burning up the side of my shin. And when it happened in the Long Haul 100 last year, it happened gradually and it persisted. So there wasn't like a breaking point where, ouch, and I knew something happened. It was just kind of a gradual discomfort. And so it's been really hard to tell when things are, at what point does things get really bad. So I haven't been really pushing it too much beyond because, again, I don't want to get injured. And so up until the day of the race last weekend, things had progressed as far as my recovery. So I was able to go longer and longer. I was still having discomfort in my ankle, but I was tolerating it. And it was moving around, not the persistent discomfort that I had last year in Long Haul that was just in this one place, this intense burning up my shin. So the idea is if I had the intense burning up my shin, I was going to pull. The weather for the Long Haul was all over the place. They said it was going to be 35, maybe get to 70, maybe rain all day one day, maybe rain both days. It was all over the place. So we packed a bunch of clothes. For different weather conditions. It wasn't supposed to be wet, so I was happy about that. I still hadn't completely decided on my shoes. I was still oscillating back and forth because, again, after running about 20 miles, my ankle was still hurting and it was tender, and so I wasn't really sure what shoe might actually be the best or give me the least amount of pressure in that area. The other thing that I did, and if you're new to racing, you shouldn't really do new things right before the race, but I tried a couple weeks into this using an insole that was a Superfeet low arch insole. So it just took a little pressure off my arch. And I'm not one for insoles. My patients will tell you that I don't like orthotics, I don't like insoles. And I don't like a lot of drop in a shoe. But again, when it came to 100 miles, I was trying to, I guess, make a deal with the devil that, okay, I'll wear an insole if it takes enough pressure off my arch that I can get through the 100 miles and maybe not hurt myself. And thinking that my foot was not maybe quite ready, especially in the arch area, to support, or my ankle, the tendon, and so that it would give way, and if I had that arch support, it maybe give me a few more miles, so to speak. That was my thinking. The other thing that I thought I would try was, it had really nothing to do with my foot exactly, or my ankle, but I decided to use a different hydration system to wear a belt like a fanny pack that you could carry two 18-ounce bottles behind, as opposed to carrying my water bottles in the vest or using a bladder. And I did that on a training run and felt pretty good, but again, not very long. If you're ever training for a marathon or beyond, nothing really bad happens until about after 15, 16 miles. Then you know that when things are going to start not working. So I really hadn't experienced a 20-mile run with this hydration belt, but nevertheless, it felt good on shorter runs. The other thought was to try to mix the food up. Now, we had tried Dave's Killer Bread. Dave also makes killer rolls. And we decided to try Dave's Killer Roll, perhaps with a peanut butter, with sun butter and jelly as a source of calories, like kind of do a lunch and a dinner maybe. And we had that on the menu. We also had the naked juices because they're really high-calorie juices, like 270 for one of those bottles. Got the berry ones that were all fruit for the most part. I think there's a lot of apple juice in it, but 270 calories, so it's a lot of calories for a fruit juice. And fruit juice is fructose, not glucose. So it's a different sugar, and your body actually absorbs it differently. But thought it would be a good hydration, little vitamin C. It's not quite as junky as, plain glucose, plain sugar, Coca-Cola. I gave myself that, if you can do these naked juices, wouldn't it be better as far as a sugar source, because at least there's some nutrients in it. That seemed to make some sense. Solid food seemed to make some sense. So that was kind of my thinking going into all this as far as calories go. We had our same crew, Linda and Lou Albert. Thank you very much. We made food for them. So we went to Coal Creek State Park loaded for bear as far as nutrition goes. We had pasta salad, mainly for the crew or after. We had mushroom walnut burgers that I made. We had seitan roast that I've talked about at Thanksgiving, sliced thin, that you could use for sandwiches. Linda made some tuna from our cookbook, which is fishless tuna, made with chickpeas. She had a power ball that had chia seeds and cacao powder and dates. She made tomato soup that had chickpeas ground up in it. We had potato soup. We had potato flakes to make mashed potatoes. We had Bobo's peanut butter and jelly. We had Mary Lou's little bars. They're like fig bars. A waffle, a vegan waffle that you can eat on the run that's pretty flat, Huma energy gels, sports beans. Gnarly was the electrolyte solution that we had. So, we had a lot of food to choose from. The naked drinks, Coca-Cola, mango juice, even some silk almond milk, if it came to that, vegetable broth. For the nighttime. So we had a jet boiler. We were all set up under the tent. It was, going to be a great experience. The other exciting thing is that my coach, Susan Donnelly, was going to be there. So I was going to get to meet her in person, and we actually got to run together a loop. So that was really cool. Meet somebody that you've been Zooming with for, a long time. Michael and I trained together, but we were going to run our separate races, but we figured that we would kind of be hopscotching and probably end up together as it went. Unfortunately, my pacer from last year, Tim Marie Hagenberger, one of our favorite dietitians, came up lame a week before the race, so she had to pull. But there's a lot of people there, and there was actually over 13 people in the age group of 60, which was really cool. I brought that up to Susan, and she's, there'll be a lot of company, and she's like, there's a lot of great runners over 60, so, the field was packed with good runners, so to speak. So we took off at 7 a.m. just as it was getting daylight. Temperature was about 56, 58 degrees, perfect running weather. I had a short sleeve shirt on, a vest that just had my nutrition in it. I was carrying gels, sports beans, a pack of Oreos. I forgot about the Oreos. I had my gnarly in one of the hydration flasks and water in the other. The idea was to take in about 1,300 calories in a 16.8 mile loop, and then that would be repeated 6 times. There are aid stations out on the course, and I thought when I got to the aid station that would mark about 9 miles, I wanted to have all that hydration fluids gone, and I would refill at that point. And I was carrying another pouch of gnarly to put dry powder to put in there to make another bottle of gnarly. So we took off, feeling great. I did not have a pain. Sometimes when you're starting out, you're a little creaky or whatever, but my ankle felt great. No burning, no sharp pains, felt great. Was running with Susan. We were yakking the whole way. Looked down a couple times, running a little bit faster than I intended. Originally, I was hoping just to slow everything down and run like a 15-minute pace for the 100 miles on average would be great, at least the first half, and then let bygones be bygones and see what happens. But we were running like a 12, 13-minute mile pace, but felt good, conversational. Again, just talking, probably talking too much because I was not reaching behind me to get my hydration. So I wasn't drinking as much as I should have. I probably waited a little long to take my first gel because I just didn't seem that I was that hungry. Before the race had started, I had a homemade bagel and a waffle. Not a regular waffle, but one of the little packet waffles, so it was probably 400 calories. So anyway, wasn't drinking like I should, wasn't eating like I should, but feeling great. Kind of hit me at about mile 9. I'm about a quarter way through my bottles instead of all the way through my bottles or halfway through my bottles. So I decided, turned that up a little bit, but still came in at 16.8 the first loop, feeling really good. Sat down to reload my vest and drink a naked juice. And I decided I would take that Dave's Killer Bun with the sunbutter and jelly with me and a Powerball to go. So I was at the aid station 4 minutes at the turnaround, and out I went. Still feeling pretty good. Felt like I run 16 miles, but felt good. And didn't get all that far out, maybe 3 or 4 miles into things, and was noticing that I was trying to eat every time at that point I decided to run 4 minutes and walk a minute. And when I was walking, I would take a couple bites of the sandwich or the Powerball, and I would chase it with the gnarly drink. And, I knew I needed to push calories. I felt like I was at a calorie low and perhaps a hydration low. So I did that until I got rid of the sandwich and the power bar, and, it just didn't kick in as far as like a spurt of energy. It was, it's more like slow food that I just wasn't digesting. So perhaps being a little low on hydration, everything kind of sat in my stomach. Nothing got to where it really should have, and I was kind of, starting to feel a little bit sluggish. So I took a gel, and, it's like, I can troubleshoot through this. This will be okay. Pushing some fluid, and got to the aid station, and, felt like I had kind of turned the corner. I believe I got a cup of Coke and started off again. By that time I had drank those bottles this time, so I filled up at least one of the bottles, and I started out, and my low back, where those hydration bottles were, was just starting to get tight. And it's like, geez, I just feel heavy. And I didn't even notice at first why my low back was starting to feel heavy. But anyway, I pulled the hydration bottles out, and it's like, oh, it was an instant relief. It's like somebody was, I was giving somebody a piggyback ride for the most part. It was kind of how it felt. So I took the bottles out, and I was carrying them in my hands. And the reason why I didn't have them in my vest or in my hands to start with is I really don't like running with something in my hands. But anyway, there I was. And so I was running for a little bit with them in my hands. I would drink. And what I thought was, when I get back to home base, at the end of the 16.8 second loop, I was going to put my hydration bottles back in, soft flask back into my vest, and go on that way. So that was the plan. I wasn't having any problems other than I'm not going to do 100 miles with this waist belt on. So as I was kind of fiddling with that, I, slowed to walk a little bit, and all of a sudden my shin started to cramp up. I started to have that burning discomfort, and my ankle was starting to get stiff, and it just kind of progressed and progressed and progressed. And I got to about 13 miles in on that last loop, and it's just I was walking, and I was walking slow, and I was limping, and I stopped it trying to stretch it. I couldn't really get it to go. And I thought, I'm in trouble here. This is only 2 loops in. There's just no way that this is going to settle out for me to go 100 miles. And at what point am I going to get into trouble that I can't get out of? So I kind of called ahead and said, I think that I'm probably going to pull the plug. Wasn't feeling very good. Again, my ankle, it just wasn't feeling good at all. And I kind of limped it in. As I walked, I have to say things loosened up a little bit, but my shin was hurting to the point where I met my criteria. I could not run on my right ankle the way it was, my right shin, without the burning being there. So, pretty much when I got in, I made the decision to stop. Michael also made the decision to stop. He was having some issues of his own. And we saw Susan, and she didn't browbeat me or say, buck up, buttercup, you can do this, suck it up, because we had made the decision on why I was going to quit if I couldn't run. So I sat there for a little bit. We loaded up the car eventually, and, I limped, and I drove home, and I actually was the driver. And by the time I got home, it wasn't any worse for wear, but I was limping around. My hips where the hydration belt were sore. My ankle was stiff, and I was gimping around, but the rest of me felt wonderful. I've never run 26 miles, 26 miles completely just flawlessly pain-free, and then it just hit and boom, went down. But the rest of my body could have went on, and I pulled the plug. Of course, immediately when you pull the plug, you have regrets. Should I have waited? Should I have tried to roll it out or, massage it out, hydrate, wait? Because I had plenty of time. My time was still really good. But I decided to pull the plug because I just didn't want to be injured. It was too big of a hit to me to be injured for, the whole year and not be able to run paces and do what I wanted to do. And I just mentally didn't feel like I could go back to that spot. It was more important for me to be able to continue to train for Leadville than it was to finish this race at all cost and walk it in, limp it in, whatever. So that's what I did. By the next day, I got up and I actually felt good. I didn't have any swelling in my ankle. I didn't have residual burning. We walked a couple of miles. The next day we ran. I ran a couple of miles feeling good. And, the good news is I wasn't injured. It was probably more of a muscle spasm than it was an injury. Again, the endurance may just not be there and it starts to spasm. May have I slowed down and let it rest, I might have been okay. But again, I didn't want to take the chance. I also think that the arches played a role for all the reasons I tell people not to use arch supports or orthotics. It rolled my foot out, rolled my bunion kind of up in the air, and my mechanics were off, my running mechanics. So I think it put more stress or more twists on that tendon than it would have been if it just, didn't have the support. I don't know. The sandwich, Dave's Killer bun with sunbutter and jelly wasn't the right thing. Gels and sports drink was working. I should have paid more attention to it. Again, I think if the hydration thing could have been settled around in a little bit. There could have been a little electrolytes issue with my ankle as well. I had some swelling in my hands. And I think mainly because I tried to overcorrect the hydration, the dehydration too quickly, but that all righted itself in a couple of hours, so I think it would have righted itself anyway, just kind of getting a hold of things. So, pulled the trigger a little quick perhaps, did meet my criteria, but I am so grateful that I'm not injured. Back to training, did some weight work, actually feel stronger in that ankle, shin than I ever have to date. So, went out and had no discomfort running this morning 2 miles, no discomfort doing toe raises, single leg toe raises like I ever had before. So I think it was a great training run. It pushed my shin to the limit, my ankle to the limit, but not far enough to be injured. And, I'm back ready to train for, the A race, which is Leadville 100 in August. In the meantime, we added a 50K on for March, so we've got something to train for here in Florida. And then we'll have the Cruel Jewel 50-miler, which is very technical and hilly, in Georgia in May. And then out to Colorado a few times in the Silver Rush 50, and then back for the 100. So plenty of races to do. It continues to be a build. So everything I've done since I've come back has been a build in a positive direction. I haven't done anything to make myself worse at this stage in the game, and I'm very happy about that. So, all in all, like I said, I don't have a buckle and I don't have another 100-miler to show for it, but the plan to get healthy is still in progress and working, so I'm pretty happy about that. The weather turned out to be beautiful all day Saturday. They had a little rain over Sunday night. I, again, had the honor to run with an amazing runner, Susan Donnelly, she's well into the 150s, I think, now, of 100-milers. She runs 100-milers like she's running to the grocery store, calm, cool, and collected. A great mind coach. I'm still learning from her. I got to meet some other people. I saw Simon, who I follow, that runs races and does a lot of vlogging. And, of course, we got to see Andy, the race director. I also got to meet the Rusty Runner and his family. And I guess it was apropos, perhaps. The Rusty Runner, I don't know if I've told the story on the podcast, but it's worth telling it again. His daughter and her husband had a child that passed away at birth from injuries. I think the cord perhaps got wrapped around the baby's neck, but it was certainly an unexpected problem, and the son passed away. And I was so taken back by the couple that were so devastated, the family so devastated, they decided to come up with some good thing. They named his name was going to be Max, and they decided to every day say 5 things that they were grateful for Max. And so they enlisted their families and friends to do five things you're grateful for Max. And I heard that on a podcast. And the Rusty Runner, I don't know his real name, but he ran not too many more months after the death of his grandson, the Long Haul 100, and finished it. And he wore a thing on his back, 5 good things for Max, 5 things you're grateful for Max. And it caught on like wildfire. He was on several podcasts. Everybody started joining in, myself included. And, if you're having a bad day and you think of that story and how 2 young people could, go through such heartache and still honor their son through 5 things of gratitude every day of their life. And their dad told me that they'd saved them. And, of course, they had thousands of them over the last 2 years. The good news is they had another son who's a year old who was at the race. But still, I saw him and it's like, I've got 5, I did my 5 Max gratitude thoughts of the day. I do them often, maybe not every day, but I try to. And I got to meet their new son and the wife and the daughter and her husband, and such gracious people. And, and to top it all off, when Susan finished, she had about a half a mile walk back to her car, and the Rusty Runner's daughter saw her and insisted that she get in the car with her husband and let him take Susan back to her car in his truck, so insisted that, she help somebody else out. So amazing people that you meet out on the trail. Congratulations to that Rusty Runner. He did finish the 100-mile race. and Susan and all the people that finished the race. But it's one of the things that really I love about the trail running community is the support that everybody gets. And there are people from all walks of life. And, my grandmother used to say, if everybody put their laundry out, you want to bring your own in. And there are a lot of those stories out on the trail of people coming back from things and people suffering, not only suffering while they're running, but things that they have suffered from and come back for and reasons that they're running. But it's a bunch of humble people that are looking to be out in the fresh air and to perhaps get away from their troubles or perhaps just appreciate the beauty of nature. And it certainly is a gorgeous place. People don't think about the parks in Florida, perhaps because you think about bugs and snakes and alligators. But this is Colt Creek State Park is really a beautiful park to visit if you have had the chance. But it was so nice to be out in nature for the whole day. And just thinking about running, thinking about, what I saw around me and the people around me, but nothing else. Nothing in the past, nothing in the future, just in the present. And that's one thing that running does, is you only have time to be in the present. Whether you're assessing your nutrition, hydration, injuries, navigating the course, whatever, you're in the present moment. And it is so mind-clearing in the end. You come back refreshed. So even though I didn't make it 100 miles, I came back refreshed, positive, grateful not to be hurt, and very happy. Wouldn't have changed not doing it in a heartbeat. And I wouldn't have changed the decision to pull because, again, I can't tell you how happy I am I'm not injured. So there you have it as far as the race report. The funny part about it is I only ate one Oreo the whole time. The Oreos just didn't taste good to me. The peanut butter, the Bobos, the bars, nothing really tasted good to me during the race. So I'm not sure exactly. The gels did good. The drink was good. The sports drink was okay. The naked juice tasted good, but I believe the fructose, I just couldn't metabolize it. My body wasn't used to having that much fructose, maybe all in one setting. I don't know. But, so we have a little bit of work to do as far as shoe selection, still work on nutrition, hydration. I'm going to keep the same plan. The strength training, I believe, was immensely helpful. Again, my quads were not, my legs, I wasn't sore at all. I didn't feel like I ran 33 miles at all. I feel I'm not tired. My legs don't sore. I'm not sore. I feel great. And I attribute that to being plant-based and the strength and conditioning work that Nathan has directed for me. Nathan Meinerich, that is. Since this is a plant-based podcast and it's the new year, and I believe plant-based nutrition is what has allowed me to get to any starting line, it's nice to see that there are some studies coming out in support of a plant-based diet that are new looks as opposed to old looks, especially in this era of carnivore and keto and all these other crazy fad diets. But there was a study that was published in Nature Microbiology that looked at a plant-based diet and a decreased incidence of cancer. And what they looked at was the microbiome of people that were vegan, vegetarians, and omnivores. So omnivores eat a little bit of everything. It was cohort studies, so it wasn't a randomized controlled trial, but there were over 21,561 individuals that they looked at. And they looked at the microbes, again, in these people, and the microbes that are particularly associated with colon cancer and cardiovascular disease. So we know, to back up a little bit, that the microbes, for instance, in our mouth, work with digestive enzymes when they meet kale that we've chewed up and produce nitric oxide, which are protective. And we need those microbes in order to complete that step of producing nitric oxide. Again, it hits our small intestine, and you have a little bit more of that chemical reaction going. The other thing that we know, that if you're a meat eater, and the microbes that you have actually produce an enzyme that is very inflammatory to the heart and is associated with increased cardiovascular disease. We also know that certain microbes are just for eating dead things like decaying meat, and things lay in your gut and have so you have a lot longer exposure to the toxins in animal products, because the digestion is so much slower, and of course you're digesting dead things, that you have a bigger chance of building and absorbing toxins that can go on to cause cancer. We also know that fiber feeds good microbacteria, so that to grow an abundantly healthy microbiome, you need fiber, which comes only from plant sources. So they looked at the microbiomes, and what they found was that people that were plant-based had the best microbiome as far as decreasing cancer. And a plant-based diet was associated with a 12% decrease in cancer, both mainly pancreatic, breast, and prostate. A more strict plant-based diet, more plant-based and vegan, associated with a 14% reduction. Actually, a vegan junk food diet has been shown to have an increased risk of cancer, about 7%. Plant-based diet, when they looked at individual cancers, 9% reduction in breast cancer, 18% reduction in digestive cancers, 32% reduction in pancreatic cancers, and only plant-based, diet showed a decreased risk of colorectal cancer, 15%. So, again, the difference: increased fiber, decrease of red meat, decreased processed meat in an omnivore diet. We know meat is associated with cancer, both colon, breast, and lung cancer. The oxidative stress that occurs, again, with digesting animal products. When you think oxidative, think of rusting. So inflammation, a lot of byproducts, heavy metals associated with excessive amounts of iron, all increase the risk of cancers. The other thing that happens is a decrease in insulin metabolism. A dysfunction of insulin's ability to work has even been shown. In another meta-analysis, cancer was 14% higher overall in a low-carbohydrate diet, 16% higher in an animal-based low-carbohydrate diet. A high meat diet, carnivore, 64% increased risk of cancer. And some of that may be due to the way salt is metabolized with meats, and again, selection of different microbiomes such as H. pylori, insulin sensitivity, and people that are eating high-fat diet. Obesity, again, is so strongly associated with an increased risk of cancer. But the reality of it is our immune system is very much affected by what we eat. So eating an animal-based diet, a diet high in dairy, does a lot to induce an inflammatory type system, which again leads to an increased risk of cancer. So continue to eat your plants, plant-based diet, high in fiber. I've been doing this for, plant-based diet, in the 20 plus years now myself, and I still, I've researched it, I've looked back, and I look at the other studies, and I look at people that are eating different ways, and I come back to this seems like the most logical way of eating, and over time and again, I've had demonstrated to me people eating other ways having terrible health issues, and some of the highest cholesterols that I've ever seen in my life eating a meat-based diet. So, I would encourage you to eat more plants, a wide variety. Add new vegetables. People say they're bored. Add different vegetables. Add one new recipe a week, perhaps. You're never too old not to try a new vegetable or a new fruit. So I hope that along with eating plant-based, you continue to move. I hope that you take encouragement from my trials and tribulations that I have running. My nurse tells my patients that, I'm good at troubleshooting injuries and troubleshooting things because I've had a lot of them. I do think it helps. It's not what I'm after, but I do believe that I am better because I run long, and I'm better because I eat plant-based. If you would like to learn more about our practice, going over to drdulaney.com, DoctorDulaney, and check it out. We'd love to have you as a member of our practice. We have a variety of different ways to join. You can be a full member. You can be a coaching member for coaching sessions with a dietitian and myself once a month. You can have dietary only. You can have strength only. But we have and you can be a full member where I, will take care of your medical needs. I also do individual consultations for people that perhaps just want to go over their health journey and maybe get a plan set and then go off on their merry way. We're happy to do that. I think that our goal is to get people off of medications, to get the health span. I can't make you live forever, but I think I can make you live the healthiest that you can for as long as you have. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think that is through mainly nutrition and exercise. There's no supplement, there's no procedure that's going to accomplish that. So if you have some interest, we'd love to help you. And again, you can always email me at Jami@drdulaney.com, and it's JAMI@drdulaney.com. I'd love to chat. Thank you as always for listening. See you next week.